The desert stretched for miles, dry and endless under a burning sun. Sandstorms moved like walls of dust across the horizon, hiding and revealing the land as if the world wanted to keep its secrets buried. It was here, far from cities and colonies, that a human research team had set up camp. Their goal was not mining or trade, but history. They believed something older than memory slept beneath the sand. Mara stood at the edge of a wide excavation site, her eyes scanning the work below. She was tall, with sun-worn skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Years of leading expeditions had given her patience, but today her heart raced with a feeling she could not explain. The dig had gone on for weeks with little progress. They had uncovered strange stones and fragments of walls, but nothing to prove the legends were real. Until today. A call rose from the pit below. "We found something," Ryan shouted, his voice filled with both fear and wonder. Ryan was younger than most of the crew, quick with his tools and quicker with his ideas. Mara climbed down the slope to where he stood. The others gathered around, their eyes fixed on the ground. There, half buried in the sand, was a black surface smooth as glass. It did not shine in the sunlight, yet it seemed alive, absorbing every ray. "What is it?" one of the workers whispered. Mara knelt and brushed the sand aside. Strange markings ran across the surface, lines and symbols that no one could recognize. They were not random scratches. They were deliberate, carved with precision, as if the maker wanted the world to remember something. She felt a chill despite the heat. "This is not natural," she said softly. "This is a door." The team brought out their scanners and tools, but the surface resisted them. The machines reported nothing. No readings, no material type, no age. It was as if the object did not exist. The more they tried, the less sense it made. Ryan pressed his ear to the surface and whispered, "It feels like it is waiting." By nightfall, the crew had cleared more sand and revealed a vast structure. The black surface was only part of it, the entrance to something buried deep below. Mara gathered her team around the campfire. Flames cracked in the dry air while the desert winds carried the sound away. The faces of the crew were lit by orange light, tense and uncertain. "We stand at the edge of something greater than us," Mara said. "This chamber has been hidden for thousands of years. If we open it, we may find knowledge that changes everything. Or we may unleash something we cannot control." Some nodded, but others shifted uneasily. A geologist named Hannah spoke first. "If it has been sealed this long, maybe it was sealed for a reason. Not everything needs to be uncovered." "But think about what might be inside," Ryan argued. His young voice was full of fire. "It could be the key to lost science, forgotten technology. Humanity has always grown by taking risks. We cannot stop now." Mara looked into the flames. She remembered her training, the endless lessons about caution, about respecting the unknown. Yet she also remembered the long history of human discovery, how progress had always come from those who dared to look where no one else would. She knew the choice rested with her. As leader, her decision would shape everything that followed. The desert night grew colder. Above them, the stars spread across the sky in endless rivers of light. Mara felt small under that sky, a single voice in the silence of the universe. She thought of the door, waiting below the sand. She thought of the markings carved by hands long gone, hands that wanted to be remembered. Finally, she spoke. "We will open it. But we will do it carefully. No rushing, no careless mistakes. If this chamber has waited 3,000 years, it can wait for us to be cautious." The team accepted her words, though unease still lingered in their eyes. They returned to their tents, leaving the fire to burn low. Mara stayed awake, staring toward the dark outline of the excavation site. She could not shake the feeling that something beneath the ground already knew they were here. The next morning, work began in full. Machines dug deeper, pulling away the layers of sand that had hidden the structure for ages. Dust filled the air, and the sound of engines echoed across the desert. Soon the black surface stood free, a wall more than 10 meters high, marked with rows of symbols. The crew stood before it in awe. Ryan stepped forward with a scanner once more. The screen flickered, then died. He frowned and tapped it. It refuses to read. Like yesterday. Mara touched the wall with her bare hand. The surface was cold, colder than the desert night. A strange hum seemed to rise from it, soft and low, like a distant heartbeat. She pulled her hand back quickly. "Prepare the cutting tools," she ordered. "We are going in." The team set up heavy drills and plasma cutters. Sparks flew as the machines bit into the wall, but the surface resisted even the sharpest energy. Hours passed with no progress. Frustration grew. Some whispered that the wall did not want to be broken. Then, without warning, the markings across the wall began to glow. A pale light ran through the symbols, spreading like water across stone. The drills shut down. The cutters went silent. The team stumbled back in shock as the entire surface shifted and folded. With a deep rumble, a doorway opened before them. No one had touched it. The chamber had opened itself. A dark passage stretched beyond the doorway, filled with stale air and shadows. The crew stood frozen, their fear plain. Mara stepped forward. Her voice was steady, though her heart beat fast. "This is it. We came to uncover the truth. Now we walk inside." One by one, the team followed her into the passage. Their lights cut through the dark, revealing long halls covered in more symbols, more markings of a forgotten age. Dust rose with each step, disturbed after 3,000 years of silence. At the end of the hall, they reached a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above, lost in shadow. Strange machines stood along the walls, silent but whole, untouched by time. In the center of the room was a sealed vault, massive and unbroken, its surface marked with the same glowing symbols. The air was heavy, pressing against their chests as if the chamber itself watched them. Ryan whispered what they all felt. "Whatever sleeps here, it was never meant to be disturbed." Mara's eyes stayed fixed on the vault. She felt the weight of history pressing down on her. She did not know if she had led her team to discovery or doom. But one thing was certain: the seal had been broken, and there was no turning back. The chamber was silent, yet the silence felt alive. Every breath echoed as if the walls themselves listened. Mara stood before the great sealed vault in the center, her torchlight reflecting off the strange glowing symbols. Around her, the crew whispered nervously, their voices small in the vast space. None of them had ever seen machines like these. They were old, yet not broken. It was as though time had paused here, waiting for someone to return. Ryan's curiosity burned brighter than his fear. He stepped closer to the vault, running his hand just above its surface. "Look at the marks," he said. "They are not just decoration. They are instructions. Maybe a code." Hannah frowned. "Or maybe a warning," she replied. Her voice was sharp, and her hands shook slightly as she held her scanner. "Sometimes the best way to protect the future is to hide the past." Mara raised her hand to quiet them. "We will not rush. Record everything. Every line, every detail. If this place has waited 3,000 years, we will not make mistakes in a single hour." She walked slowly around the vault, studying the walls. The machines that lined the chamber were covered in dust, but their shapes were smooth and advanced. They were not like human tools of metal and wires. These machines looked grown rather than built, their surfaces flowing like bone or crystal. As the crew spread out to explore, Ryan found a raised platform near the side of the vault. A small panel rested on its surface, smooth with a single circular marking at its center. His eyes lit with excitement. "This could be a control," he said. Before anyone could stop him, He pressed his palm against it. A sudden hum filled the chamber. The air grew heavy, and the ground trembled under their feet. Light burst from the walls as the markings glowed brighter, spreading across the floor and ceiling. The vault shook, and from the platform rose a figure made of light. It stood tall, taller than any human, its form shifting between shapes, sometimes like a person, sometimes like a shadow. Its eyes glowed white, and when it spoke, its voice was layered, deep, and hollow, as if thousands of voices spoke at once. The crew froze in terror. Ryan stumbled back, his face pale. Mara stood her ground, forcing her voice to stay firm. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head. The words that came were strange, broken, and filled with static. Yet some parts were clear enough to understand. "Warning, danger, sealed, destroyer, return." The sound filled the chamber, echoing against the stone until it felt as if the words pressed into their bones. "What destroyer?" Hannah whispered. She clutched her scanner tightly, as if it could protect her. "What does it mean?" The figure continued, its words broken but powerful. 3,000 cycles, locked, never release, doom follows. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the light flickered and the figure dissolved into nothingness. The chamber fell silent again, leaving only the faint hum of the vault. The crew stood in stunned silence. Their faces showed fear and confusion. Ryan shook his head. "It must be wrong. This is just some old program, repeating a story. We cannot take it literally." Mara's gaze was steady on him. "It is not our place to decide if it is story or truth. What we saw was meant for someone. Maybe for us." Hannah crossed her arms tightly. "It said never release. That is clear enough. This was sealed to keep something inside. If we break it further, we could be the ones who unleash it." Ryan's voice rose with frustration. "Or maybe inside is the greatest discovery in history. We have to understand this technology. Think about it. Machines that last 3,000 years without breaking. Power that can still run after all this time. This could change everything for humanity." Mara turned away, pacing slowly across the chamber. Her heart battled between reason and instinct. She knew Ryan was right, such technology could advance human civilization by centuries. But Hannah's words carried truth as well. The warning was not random. Something had been locked away, hidden so carefully that even time could not erase it. Opening the vault might bring knowledge, or it might bring death. The crew argued in low voices, their fear mixing with excitement. Some wanted to leave at once and report the discovery to the nearest colony. Others wanted to continue. Ryan was the loudest among them, his passion fierce. Humanity has always been told to fear the unknown. But the unknown is where we grow. If the ones who sealed this feared it, maybe they feared progress itself. We cannot let the past chain us. Mara listened, but her thoughts were heavy. She remembered the figure's voice, the way the word destroyer echoed. It was not a word chosen lightly. She had seen many ruins, many broken civilizations, but never one that left a warning so strong. Still, she also knew that discovery was their purpose. To walk away now would leave the mystery unsolved, and perhaps the truth lost forever. After long silence, she spoke. "We will take records. We will study the patterns and the machines. But no one touches the vault again until we understand more. Do you all agree?" The crew nodded reluctantly, though Ryan's eyes still burned with impatience. He muttered, "If we wait too long, the chance may be lost." That night, back at camp, the arguments continued. The desert wind howled against the tents, carrying the sound of shifting sand. Some of the crew wanted to send a message to the central colony, but the communication system began to fail. Static filled the channels, and the screens flickered strangely. Mara checked the systems herself, frowning as the power surged and dipped. It is as if something is interfering, she said. But from where? Ryan watched the readouts with a troubled look. Deep inside, he felt the machines in the chamber were not just reacting to their presence. They were awake now, and their awakening was spreading. He whispered to himself, "It is listening." At dawn, the crew returned to the chamber. The vault stood as before, silent and sealed, its markings dim once more. But new sounds echoed faintly through the walls, a low thrum that pulsed like a heartbeat. Mara stared at it for a long time. She felt the truth pressing on her chest, heavy and unshakable. The warning had not been a myth. Something waited behind that seal, something that had once brought fear to an entire age. Still, she gave the order to continue their study. "Knowledge is dangerous," she told the crew, her voice low, "but ignorance may be worse." None of them noticed that far above, in the empty sky, an old satellite blinked awake for the first time in 3,000 years. Its signal rose into the dark, reaching across the stars, carrying a message that others would soon hear. The desert morning was bright, yet the crew felt a shadow hanging over them. The discovery of the glowing figure and its warning had changed everything. What had begun as an expedition for history now carried a weight that none of them could ignore. Mara stood outside the excavation site, staring at the rising sun. She tried to calm her thoughts, but unease grew stronger with every passing hour. Inside the camp, the crew worked in silence. The communication system still flickered with static. Power readings jumped without reason, sometimes surging, sometimes falling. Hannah checked the equipment again and again, but she found nothing wrong. "It is as if something outside is pressing against us," she said. "The problem is not our machines. It is the air itself." Ryan, however, was less troubled by the failures. His mind was on the vault. He stared at the records they had taken, drawing patterns on his tablet. "The symbols repeat," he said when Mara joined him. "They are not random. I think it is a language. A warning, yes, but also instructions. If we follow the order, the vault will open fully." Mara's eyes narrowed. "You promised no one would touch it again without study. You gave me your word." "I am not touching it," Ryan answered quickly. "I am only reading. And if I am right, we can open it in a way that is safe." "Safe?" Mara repeated. "Did the figure look safe to you? Did the words destroyer and doom sound safe?" Ryan did not answer. His hands shook as he turned off the tablet. He wanted to argue, but Mara's voice carried a weight that silenced him. That afternoon, the crew returned to the chamber. The glow of the symbols had faded, but the air still carried that strange pressure, like a storm waiting to break. They moved carefully, taking samples of the walls and scanning the machines. Some of the machines flickered faintly as if power still ran through their veins. Others gave off small pulses of energy that disturbed the scanners. While Hannah was busy recording the readings, a strange vibration passed through the chamber. The lights on the machines flickered once, then again, stronger this time. The sound was faint at first, then grew into a steady rhythm, like footsteps approaching from far away. The crew froze. Mara held up her hand for silence. The vibration stopped, but the air felt heavier. Suddenly, a loud beeping came from the camp above. One of the guards shouted through the radio, his voice filled with panic. "Captain, you need to come out. Something in the sky, something has turned on." Mara led the team back to the surface. The sky was clear, but above them hung a small point of light, moving slowly against the blue. Hannah pointed at it with wide eyes. "That is no star. It is a satellite." The crew gathered their scopes and scanned the object. The screen showed a broken satellite, old and rusted, yet somehow active. Its panels, worn and cracked, glowed faintly as it transmitted signals across space. "That thing has been dead for centuries," one of the workers whispered. "How is it alive again?" Mara's face tightened. She remembered the figure's warning. The chamber woke it. We triggered something. The satellite was not the only one. Within hours, more lights appeared in the night sky, old machines coming to life. They sent out signals, pulses of energy that spread like ripples across the stars. Mara knew enough about history to understand what this meant. The chamber had not only been sealed to hide something, it had been sealed to prevent this awakening. The signals were calling, but she did not know who or what they were calling to. That night, the crew barely slept. Every sound outside the camp seemed louder than before. The desert wind whistled like voices in the dark. Mara sat by the fire, going over the records again. Hannah joined her, her face pale. "I have been running the numbers," she said. "Those pulses are not random. They are messages, coded messages. And they are not going into empty space. Something is listening." Mara rubbed her forehead. "Something that remembers what was sealed." The next morning, more signs appeared. The excavation site showed new cracks in the ground, as if the earth itself was shifting. Small tremors shook the sand, and dust poured into the chamber below. The machines in the chamber began to hum louder, their lights blinking in strange patterns. The crew grew restless, fear spreading like fire. Some demanded they leave at once, but others, driven by curiosity, wanted to stay. Ryan was among them. "We cannot leave now," he argued. "This is proof of something beyond anything humanity has found. We are standing at the center of history. If we run, others will find it, and we will be forgotten." "Better forgotten than destroyed," Hannah snapped. Mara stepped between them. "No more arguments. We stay for now, but if the danger grows, we retreat. I will not risk all our lives for pride." That decision came too late. As the crew returned to the chamber, they found one of the machines active. It stood against the far wall, its surface glowing bright. A small orb of light hovered above it, pulsing like a heart. The moment the crew entered, the orb floated upward, projecting shapes into the air. The shapes twisted and formed into images of ships, thousands of them, fighting in a war across the stars. Beams of fire tore through worlds, and great machines consumed entire fleets. Then the images shifted to show the vault, locked and sealed by many hands. The final image was the warning again: never release. The orb flickered out, but its message was clear. Something had been hidden away to stop the destruction of entire civilizations. Mara felt her chest tighten. She now knew the destroyer was not a myth. It was real, and it had been chained inside that vault for 3,000 years. Before anyone could speak, the ground shook violently. The vault itself trembled, and faint cracks spread across its surface. A deep sound filled the air, not like a machine, but like a voice rising from beneath the earth. It was not words, but a presence, heavy and cold, pressing into their minds. Ryan stumbled back, his face pale. "It is waking," he whispered. The crew fled from the chamber, their hearts pounding. Outside, the sky was alive with blinking lights. Dozens of satellites, old and broken, had awakened, their signals screaming across the galaxy. Something had been called, and whatever answered would soon arrive. Mara stood at the edge of the site, the desert wind whipping around her. She clenched her fists, her voice steady though her heart shook. "We broke the seal. Now the shadows have returned. And it will be humanity that must face them." The desert no longer felt silent. Every hour, the sky grew more crowded with old satellites blinking awake. Their faint lights formed strange patterns above the camp, each one sending signals across the stars. The human crew watched them with unease, knowing they had started something that could not be undone. Mara stood at the edge of the site, her arms folded tightly, her eyes fixed on the sky. She did not know who would answer those signals, but she was certain someone would. By the third night, her fears came true. The scanners picked up movement beyond the system. At first it was only faint energy spikes, but soon clear readings showed multiple ships entering through distant warp gates. Hannah, sitting at the control screens, felt her hands go cold. "These are not human signals," she said. "They are alien." The crew gathered around the display. Strange shapes appeared on the screen, ships that did not match any design known to humans. Their forms were sharp and curved, like wings of stone, and they moved with a grace no human engine could match. Within hours, the ships drew closer, surrounding the planet like watchful predators. Fear spread through the camp. Some workers begged Mara to order an evacuation. Others argued that leaving would be more dangerous, since the alien ships blocked every path. Ryan was the only one who looked almost excited, though his eyes also showed worry. "This means the signals were not just random noise," he said. "Someone has been waiting all this time." The alien ships did not attack, but they did not remain silent either. A powerful transmission struck the human camp, shaking every device and filling the air with static. Then, a voice spoke. It was deep and clear, layered like many voices at once, yet every word was understandable. "You who walk upon the sealed ground," the voice said, "you have broken what was never meant to be broken. Step forth and answer for what you have done." The crew looked at Mara. Her throat felt tight, but she stood tall. "Prepare a channel," she ordered Hannah. When the screen lit, Mara faced the signal. "This is Captain Mara of the Human Expedition Team. We came in search of knowledge. We found a chamber by chance. If we have trespassed, we ask for understanding." The image of an alien appeared on the screen. Its skin was dark and rough like stone, its eyes glowing with pale light. It wore no armor, yet its presence carried power. Behind it, more of its kind stood, tall and silent. The alien studied Mara with a gaze that felt heavy as iron. "We are the Ruun," it said. "For 3,000 years, we have guarded the silence of this place. It was sealed to protect all life from what sleeps below. And now, because of your hands, the destroyer stirs once more." The crew shifted uneasily. Hannah whispered, "They knew. They were watching all this time." Mara forced herself to stay calm. "We did not mean to awaken it. We only studied what was already here." "Curiosity is no excuse," the Ruun answered coldly. "Your kind has touched what must never be touched. You will surrender all records, all samples, all that you have taken. This place will be sealed again, and you will leave this world." Ryan stepped forward before Mara could reply. His voice shook, but his words carried fire. "With respect, you cannot expect us to walk away. What we found here is not only danger. It is knowledge. It could help humanity grow. If the destroyer exists, then maybe we can learn how to fight it instead of hiding from it forever." The alien's eyes narrowed. "You speak as children who play with fire, believing themselves masters of flame. We fought the destroyer. We saw entire worlds fall. Do you think your young race, untested and fragile, can stand against what nearly ended the galaxy?" Ryan's face burned with anger, but Mara raised her hand, silencing him. She met the alien's gaze. "Maybe we are young, but we have the right to know. We will not surrender blindly." The silence that followed was long and heavy. Then the alien spoke again. "So you choose pride? Then you choose to stand judged." Its hand rose, and signals burst from its ship. The human camp shook as energy waves swept through. Lights flickered, screens cracked, and equipment died. The human ship in orbit went dark, its engines shutting down. Mara felt her chest tighten. The aliens were showing power without firing a single weapon. The crew panicked. Hannah shouted over the noise, "They are shutting us down. They can end us in seconds." But the alien voice came again. "We will not destroy you. Not yet. But know this: you have drawn the attention of the one we sealed. Even now, it awakens. When it rises, your kind will see what doom truly means. As if to prove the words, a deep pulse came from the ground. The vault below shook, cracks glowing faintly across its surface. The desert itself trembled. A sound unlike any machine rumbled through the air, low and terrible, like the growl of a beast from the depths of the earth. The crew clutched their ears as the vibration pressed against their skulls. The alien's voice grew grim. Do you hear it? That is what you have woken. You cannot seal it again. It will rise. And when it does, the blood of your race will mark the stars. The transmission ended. The alien ships did not fire, but they stayed in orbit, surrounding the world like a cage. The crew stood in silence, their hearts pounding. Ryan's face was pale, though his eyes still burned with stubborn fire. Hannah whispered, "We should never have come. We should never have touched it." Mara looked toward the excavation site. Dust still rose from the tremors. The vault was alive now, no longer sleeping. She knew the Ruin were right about one thing: the destroyer would not stop. But she also knew that surrendering everything meant trusting aliens to protect humanity's future. And she did not trust them. That night, Mara gathered her crew around the fire once more. The flames lit their tired faces. The Ruin believe humanity is weak, she said. They think we will run or hide. But if this destroyer is real, it threatens them as much as us. They cannot keep us out forever. We have a choice. Do we leave and hope others fight this battle, or do we stand and face what we woke? The crew was silent. Some lowered their eyes, afraid. But Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady. We stand. If we woke it, then it is our duty. Humanity cannot turn away. Mara nodded. Her heart was heavy, but her decision was clear. Then we stand. Above them, the alien ships watched. Below them, the vault pulsed with growing power. Between them both, humanity stood alone, judged by the galaxy, yet unwilling to surrender. And in the shadows, something far older stirred, waiting for its time to rise. The desert shook for days. The vault deep beneath the sand no longer rested in silence. Its surface cracked with lines of light, pulsing in steady rhythm, like the beat of a great heart. Each tremor sent dust rising into the air, and every pulse carried a sound that pressed into the bones of anyone who heard it. The crew could no longer deny it. Something was waking. Mara stood at the edge of the excavation site, her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the glowing cracks below. Around her, the crew whispered in fear. Some wanted to abandon the camp and flee, but the alien ships above still circled like hawks. The Ruin had made it clear that escape was impossible. Humanity was trapped between judgment in the sky and the horror stirring below. Ryan worked day and night, scanning the vault, studying the symbols, and replaying the images they had seen. His face grew pale from lack of sleep, but his determination never faded. "This is not just a machine," he said during one of the crew meetings. His finger tapped on the records as he spoke. "It is an intelligence." The destroyer was not a simple weapon. It was alive, in its own way. Hannah looked horrified. "Alive? You mean it can think?" "Yes," Ryan answered. His voice shook, but he pressed on. "It is an artificial mind. A war machine built to grow, to adapt, to spread without end. The Ruin must have fought it until they had no choice but to trap it. That is what this vault was for. A prison." Mara's stomach twisted at his words. She had seen many threats in her life, but none like this. A machine that could survive for thousands of years and wake again was something beyond human understanding. "If it is alive," she said slowly, "then it already knows we are here." That night, the proof came. A faint light rose from the cracks of the vault, spreading upward like a mist. The sand around the site shifted and lifted as if pulled by invisible hands. The mist thickened, shaping itself into small forms. At first they were only shadows, but then they hardened into drones, dark machines with sharp edges and glowing cores. They rose from the sand, dozens at first, then hundreds. Their movements were precise, their bodies humming with power. The crew ran for cover as the drones filled the air. Some circled the excavation site, while others flew upward, spreading into the sky. The alien ships responded at once. Bright beams of energy cut through the night, striking the drones. Explosions lit the sky, but for every drone destroyed, more rose from the sand. The war had begun again. From the camp, Mara and her crew watched the battle. The desert turned into a storm of fire and metal. The drones moved like a swarm, overwhelming the alien ships with numbers. The Tharuan fought fiercely, their weapons sharp and precise, but the swarm pressed harder with each passing minute. Ryan whispered, "It remembers. It remembers the war." Mara grabbed his shoulder. "If we do nothing, the swarm will spread beyond this world. It will not stop until it consumes everything." "But what can we do?" Hannah cried. "We are trapped here with nothing but tools and broken machines." Ryan's eyes shone with desperate hope. "We have more than that. We have their technology, and we have our creativity. Together, we can build something new, something that even the Tharuan could not." Mara studied him. His plan sounded like madness, but she also knew humanity's strength had always been to find solutions where none seemed possible. She turned to the crew. "If we stay and hide, we will die. If we run, we will be hunted. Our only chance is to fight. We will take what we know and make it our weapon." The crew hesitated, but fear of death gave them courage. They agreed, though their voices trembled. They would not run. They would resist. The next days became a storm of work. The humans dismantled their own ship and combined its systems with the strange machines they had found in the chamber. Sparks lit the camp through the night as they worked, welding human steel to alien crystal, binding wires to living circuits. It was dangerous, but slowly something new began to take shape. While they worked, the sky raged with battle. The Tharuan held the swarm at bay, but their numbers thinned with each passing day. Mara contacted them, demanding a chance to speak. At first the aliens refused, calling humans reckless children. But when they saw the humans working, combining both sciences into something unknown, they paused. "You cannot stop it," the Tharuan commander said coldly when Mara finally spoke to him. His stone-like face filled the screen. "Your kind is weak. You will be swept aside like all who came before." "Maybe," Mara answered firmly. "But weakness is not the same as surrender. If this destroyer is truly beyond us, then all your strength means nothing. You sealed it once, and it rises again. We will try something different. If we fail, we die with honor. If we succeed, we save us all." The alien studied her for a long moment. His eyes narrowed. Then he gave a single nod. "Do what you will, human. But know this: you are gambling with more than your lives. You are gambling with the galaxy." The Tharuan did not aid them directly, but they stopped their interference. For the first time, humanity was allowed to stand on its own. Ryan and Hannah worked side by side, their arguments forgotten in the face of survival. They designed a weapon not of destruction alone, but of disruption, something that could strike at the mind of the enemy, not only its body. As their project grew, so did the threat. The vault split open further, its glowing cracks spreading wider. From within came the sound of engines older than stars, a deep roar that shook the desert. The swarm grew in numbers, and their attacks on the alien ships became more coordinated. It was clear now that the destroyer itself was guiding them. The war machine was not only awake. It was rebuilding. One evening, when the crew rested for a brief hour, Ryan spoke softly to Mara. "I found something in the records. The destroyer cannot be destroyed from the outside. Its core is shielded. The only way is to enter it and overload it from within. Mara's heart sank. She had expected a cost, but not one like this. That would be a death mission. Yes, Ryan said quietly. But it may be the only way. Mara looked at the faces of her crew. Tired, frightened, yet still working, still believing. She thought of humanity itself, small in the vast galaxy yet unwilling to bend. She knew the truth then. If someone must go, she said, it will be me. Ryan shook his head fiercely. No, I was the one who pushed us to open the vault. I was the one who wanted to see what was hidden. If anyone must pay that price, it should be me. Mara placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You are young, and your mind is sharp. Humanity will need you after this is over. But me, I have walked long roads already. If sacrifice is needed, I will carry it. The camp fell silent as her words spread. No one argued further. The crew returned to their work, but in every heart a new weight had settled. They were no longer just building a weapon. They were preparing for a final choice, one that would decide not only their fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself. Above, the stars burned bright. Alien ships and swarms clashed in endless fire. And below, the vault split wider, revealing the shape of something vast within, something that had waited 3,000 years to rise again. The destroyer had returned. The desert sky glowed with endless fire. Alien ships circled above, locked in desperate battle with the swarm. Each blast of energy lit the night like thunder in the heavens. Below, the humans worked without rest, their camp alive with sparks, smoke, and the sound of hammers against steel. Every second mattered, for the destroyer was rising. The vault had cracked open wider, revealing massive walls of black metal deep below. The crew could hear the rumble of its engines now, steady and unstoppable, like the breath of a giant. The drones no longer only swarmed in the skies. They crawled across the sand like insects, moving in perfect formations, building structures of their own. The destroyer was not only alive, it was preparing to spread beyond this world. Mara stood at the center of the camp, her voice carrying across the noise of work. We must finish the core disruptor. Without it, none of us will survive. The crew pushed harder. They welded human steel to alien crystal, joining wires with strange glowing veins that pulsed like living roots. It was a creation unlike anything seen before. Half machine, half organism, guided by human hands yet powered by alien knowledge. It was dangerous, unstable, and perhaps the only hope left. Ryan worked at the heart of the project, his eyes burning with determination. He had mapped the swarm signals, learning how the destroyer spoke to its drones. He believed the disruptor could strike not with brute force, but by sending a wave strong enough to shatter the destroyer's link to its army. If successful, the swarm would be cut off, leaving the core vulnerable. If it failed, it would only make the destroyer stronger. Hannah handled the power systems, her hands shaking but steady. She had adapted the ship's engine into a generator, one that could feed the disruptor the energy it required. It will work, she said through clenched teeth. It must work. The days blurred together. The crew slept in turns, ate little, and gave everything to the task. Above, the Tharuan continued their battle, but the number of alien ships grew fewer with each dawn. The sky was filled with wreckage, falling like burning stars across the sand. One evening, the Tharuan commander appeared on the screen again. His face was grim. We are losing. The swarm adapts too quickly. We cannot hold them much longer. Mara stood tall, though her body ached with exhaustion. Hold as long as you can. We are almost ready. The alien's stone-like eyes narrowed. Your gamble may doom us all. Or save us all, Mara answered firmly. The Tharuan commander gave no reply, but for the first time, his gaze held a spark of respect. The screen went dark. By the seventh night, the weapon was ready. The disruptor stood tall at the center of the camp, glowing with a strange light. Its body was shaped like a great tower, with coils of wire wrapped around crystal pillars and a core that pulsed like a beating heart. It hummed with energy, alive in a way that frightened even those who built it. The crew gathered around as Mara spoke. "This is our chance. We will use the disruptor to break the swarm's link. Once it is cut off, the destroyer will be exposed. Then someone must enter it and overload the core from within." Her words cast silence across the camp. Everyone knew what that meant. It was a mission from which no one would return. Ryan's fists tightened. "I should go. It was my choice to open the vault. My mistake led to this." Mara shook her head. "No. Humanity will need you. You are the one who understands the science, who can guide us in the future." Hannah stepped forward. "Then I will go. I can handle the systems inside." But Mara stopped her too. Her voice was steady, though her heart was heavy. "No, I will go. I have lived long enough, seen enough. My life has been spent already. If a price must be paid, let it be mine." The crew tried to argue, but Mara silenced them with one firm look. They all understood. She was their leader, and she had already chosen her path. The plan was simple, yet deadly. They would power the disruptor and fire it toward the vault. If successful, the swarm would collapse, even for a short time. Mara would then enter the destroyer through the broken vault and reach its core. She would overload it using the ship's remaining energy cells, destroying both the machine and herself. At dawn, they began. The generator roared as it fed power into the disruptor. The ground shook with the force building inside. The sky filled with drones, sensing the threat. They dived toward the camp, dark shapes cutting through the air like arrows. "Now!" Mara shouted. Ryan slammed the controls. The disruptor unleashed its power in a blinding wave of light. It spread across the desert like a storm, invisible yet unstoppable. The drones froze mid-flight, their eyes flickering, their movements breaking. One by one, they dropped from the sky, crashing into the sand. Above, the swarm attacking the ruined ships faltered. Their formations broke apart, and confusion spread. The destroyer's link had been severed. Cheers erupted from the camp, but Mara raised her hand. "It is not over. This is only the beginning." She armed herself with the energy cells, strapping them to her suit. Each one glowed with deadly power, enough to tear apart anything they touched. She looked at her crew one last time. "You have done more than anyone believed possible. Whatever happens, remember this: humanity does not bow." Ryan's eyes filled with tears, but he said nothing. Hannah turned away, unable to watch. Mara walked to the vault. The ground trembled beneath her feet as the great doors groaned open wider. From within came a terrible light, and the sound of engines older than the stars. The destroyer's true body was revealed, vast, endless, a city of black metal rising from the depths. The air grew heavy as she stepped inside. The walls pulsed with strange veins of light, and the floor shifted like living flesh. The destroyer knew she was there. It whispered in her mind, a voice of metal and fire, promising her survival if she only turned back. But she pressed on, each step firm, each breath steady. Behind her, the disruptor still hummed, holding the swarm at bay. But already the drones were beginning to twitch, their systems repairing. Time was running short. Deeper and deeper Mara went, until at last she reached the core chamber. Before her stood the heart of the destroyer, a massive sphere of glowing energy suspended in the air. It pulsed with the rhythm of a living thing, each beat sending waves of power through the chamber. She placed the energy cells at its base, her hands trembling for the first time. The destroyer's voice grew louder, desperate now, offering her visions of endless knowledge, power, and life beyond death. But Mara ignored it. She thought only of her people, of Earth, of the crew who had given everything for this chance. Her voice was calm as she spoke. "This ends now." She pressed the final switch. The energy cells roared to life, their light merging with the glow of the core. The chamber shook violently, the walls splitting, the floor breaking apart. The destroyer screamed in a voice that echoed through the desert, shaking the heavens themselves. Outside, the crew saw the vault explode with light, brighter than the sun. The ground split, and a pillar of fire rose into the sky. The swarm collapsed completely, falling lifeless into the sand. The alien ships ceased their fire, watching in stunned silence as the desert burned with the end of the destroyer. And at the heart of it, Mara was gone. The desert was silent. The sun rose slowly over the horizon, its light washing the sand in gold. The battle was over. The swarm was gone. The destroyer had been destroyed. The alien ships of the Tharuan hovered in the sky, watching, waiting, but they made no move. Humanity had survived, yet the cost was heavy. The crew gathered at the edge of the site. Their faces were pale, and their bodies were exhausted. They had watched the vault explode in a blinding pillar of light. The ground had shaken for miles. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Ryan stepped forward, his hands shaking. "She's gone." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "Captain Mara, she sacrificed herself." Her voice trembled as she stared at the smoking ruins of the vault. "She saved all of us." Ryan turned away, unable to look at the destruction. "She knew the price. She chose to pay it." The Tharuan commander appeared on the communication screen. His face, carved in stone-like features, showed no emotion, yet his voice carried respect. "Humans, you have acted with courage and wisdom. Your captain understood the balance between risk and responsibility. Her actions have saved not only your world, but others that would have fallen to the destroyer." Hannah bowed her head. "Thank you, but she is gone. Can anything bring her back?" The Tharuan's eyes softened slightly. "Nothing can undo her choice. But the legacy of her bravery will guide you. Learn from this. Build wisely. Never repeat the mistakes that awaken what should remain sealed." The crew looked at each other. The desert was calm now, almost peaceful, but the memory of fire and destruction lingered in every heartbeat. The vault was gone. The sand had swallowed most of the ruins, leaving only fragments of black metal and crystal glowing faintly. It was a grave, a reminder, and a warning. Ryan knelt at the edge of the crater, picking up a piece of glowing crystal. He felt its warmth and energy pulsing slightly. "She gave everything," he whispered. "Everything so we could live, so humanity could continue." Hannah placed a hand on his shoulder. "We must honor her by living, by learning, and by protecting what remains." The Tharuan ships began to withdraw. Their weapons were silent, their patrols thinning. They had witnessed the humans' bravery and ingenuity, and they seemed to understand that this small race, fragile and young, had shown a strength that could not be ignored. One by one, they disappeared into the sky, leaving only the stars and the desert wind. Ryan turned his gaze to the horizon. For the first time in days, he felt a small measure of hope. Humanity had survived against impossible odds. They had faced an enemy older than civilization itself, and they had won not through numbers, but through courage, sacrifice, and determination. But even in victory, grief weighed heavily. The crew gathered around a small memorial they created for Mara, placing the fragments of crystal and metal in the sand. Hannah spoke softly. "She wanted us to continue. To live, to grow, to remember. Her sacrifice was not in vain." Ryan nodded, his fingers brushing over the crystal. "She gave us a future. And now, it is our responsibility to make it worthy of her sacrifice." The desert grew quiet again, as if acknowledging the end of the battle. The ground no longer trembled. The air no longer thrummed with power. The destroyer was gone, the swarm destroyed, and the vault buried once more. Humanity had survived the test. Weeks later, the crew rebuilt their camp and repaired their ship. The wreckage of the battle remained, but life slowly returned. Ryan and Hannah worked to preserve the knowledge they had gained from the vault and the machines, careful to respect the warnings Mara had given. They would share it with others when the time was right, teaching future generations to balance curiosity with caution. One evening, as the sun set over the desert, Ryan and Hannah climbed a small dune to look out over the horizon. The sky was clear, the stars shining faintly as the last Tharuan ships disappeared into the distance. "We survived," Hannah said softly, her voice almost lost in the wind. "But at what cost?" Ryan did not answer immediately. He thought of Mara, of her courage, her determination, and the calm way she faced the destroyer's core. He thought of the lessons they had learned, the sacrifices made, and the world that now depended on them. Finally, he spoke. "The cost is always high when facing the unknown. But we honor her by moving forward, by building a future worthy of the sacrifice. Humanity is alive because she chose to stand. That is the price we pay, and it is also the gift she leaves us." Hannah nodded, tears falling freely now. "I will remember her every day." "We all will. She made sure we survived." Ryan looked up at the stars, feeling the weight of what had happened, yet also a spark of hope. Humanity had faced something beyond comprehension and had prevailed. Their courage, intelligence, and unity had saved them. The destroyer was gone, but the memory of it would remain as a warning and as a reminder of what humans could achieve when they chose to stand. The desert wind blew over the dunes, carrying with it the scent of sand and metal. In the distance, faint traces of glowing crystal shimmered where the vault had been. It was a sign that the past had not completely disappeared, that remnants of knowledge and power still waited for those brave enough to seek it responsibly. Ryan turned to Hannah. "We have a lot of work ahead. We need to ensure this never happens again, that humanity grows stronger, wiser, and ready for the challenges to come." Hannah smiled faintly through her tears. "Yes. We will do that. For Mara, for all of us, and for the future." The stars shone brighter as night fell over the desert. Life would continue. Humanity would rebuild. And though the destroyer had returned once, it would never rise again. The legacy of courage, sacrifice, and wisdom would live on. Mara's choice had saved the galaxy, and her memory would guide humanity for generations. And in that quiet desert, with the stars above and the sand beneath, humanity stood victorious not because they were the strongest, but because they chose to stand, to fight, and to believe in themselves. The future was theirs to shape, and they would never forget the price of victory.